Ousted President of Syria, Bashar Al-Assad has issued a first press statement since he fled to Moscow, the Russian capital, after the fall of Damascus, saying he never abandoned his fighters, that the opposition rebels closed in on him while he was inside Russian military base in Syria, and the leadership of Russian military ordered his evacuation as the Moscow army base came under heavy drones attack. According to Bashar al-Assad, he did not leave Syria on Sunday morning, that he was hiding in the Russian military base till evening when he was eventually evacuated. The deposed Syrian president has defended his role and denied planning his departure as armed opposition fighters closed in on Damascus earlier this month. A statement said to be written by al-Assad and released on the Syrian presidency's Telegram channel on Monday presented an account of how and why the former president fled Syria. First, my departure from Syria was neither planned nor did it occur during the final hours of the battles, as some have claimed. On the contrary, I remained in Damascus, carrying out my duties until the early hours of Sunday, December 8, 2024. The statement added that as rebel fighters, who al-Assad described as terrorist forces, entered the capital, he moved to a Russian base on the coastal city of Latakia to oversee combat operations. Adding, the Russian military base came under drone attacks from armed opposition fighters. With no viable means of leaving the base, Moscow requested that the base's command arrange an immediate evacuation to Russia on the evening of Sunday, the 8th of December. This took place a day after the fall of Damascus, following the collapse of the final military positions and the resulting paralysis of all remaining state institutions. We are yet to independently verify the statement posted on the Syria President Verified Telegram channel's account. Al-Assad has not made any media appearances since he was granted asylum with his family by President Vladimir Putin-led Russia. Groups led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, had launched a lightning offensive from the northwestern province of Idlib in November, taking city after city from government forces with little resistance. Reuters reported that the vault of Syria's central bank holds nearly 26 tons of gold, the same amount it had at the start of its bloody civil war in 2011. Even after the chaotic fall of Bashar al-Assad's despotic regime, the media cited 4 people familiar with the situation. But the country has only a small amount of foreign currency reserves in cash, the same people said. Syria's gold reserves stood at 25.8 tons in June 2011, according to the World Gold Council, which cites the Central Bank of Syria as its data source. That is worth $2.2 billion at current market prices, according to Reuters calculations, Reuters reported on Monday. Last Monday, rescuers from the Syrian White Helmets said they were searching for secret doors or basements in Sadnaya prison, looking for any detainees who might be trapped. More prisoners looking malnourished were seen in videos being helped out. We are working with all our energy to reach a new hope, and we must be prepared for the worst, the organization said in a statement. Ida Taha, aged 65, said she had been roaming the streets like a madwoman, in search of her brother, who was arrested in 2012. She said she went to Sednaya, where she believes some prisoners are still underground. The prison has 3 or 4 underground floors, Taha said. They say that the doors won't open because they don't have the proper codes. We've been oppressed long enough. We want our children back, she added. Assad and members of his family arrived in the city on Sunday, a Kremlin source told the TASS news agency last Monday as reported. The source said, Assad and his family members have arrived in Moscow. Russia, for humanitarian reasons, has granted them asylum. Mr. Assad left the Syrian capital of Damascus after his government fell following a lightning offensive by anti-regime forces across the country, bringing his 24-year rule to an end. He left after giving orders for there to be a peaceful transfer of power, the Russian Foreign Ministry said last Monday. As Assad fled, footage circulating on social media showed families ransacking presidential palaces in Damascus, with some taking selfies in the grand settings, as thousands celebrated in the streets. The Syrian regime had faced a battle on three fronts: Hayat Tahrir al-Sham (HTS) from the north, the Southern Front, and a Kurdish group in the east. Syrian rebels, made up of the various opposition groups, said they were working to transition power to a new governing body with full executive powers. The Great Syrian Revolution has moved from the stage of struggle to overthrow the Assad regime to the struggle to build a Syria together that befits the sacrifices of its people, the coalition said in a statement, describing events as a new birth for Great Syria. HTS leader Abu Mohammed al-Jolani, who led the insurgency, declared, "The future is ours," in a statement read out on Syrian state TV. He said there was no room for turning back, and his group was determined to continue on the path it started in 2011. He later addressed a crowd inside the sprawling Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, where he described the fall of Assad as a victory to the Islamic nation. "We had last Sunday reported that the United States of America, US-backed Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, and Turkey-backed Islam-led Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, have pushed out Iran and Russia-backed President Bashar al-Assad from Syria, with US President-elect Donald Trump calling President Joe Biden and other government officials at the White House warmongers trying to cause World War III, distancing USA from the civil crisis in Damascus." Local media reported with videos that Christians in Damascus gathered at a church Saturday night to pray for guidance as the opposition Islamic and Kurdish rebels closed in on Damascus. Some of the local media added that the fall of Damascus could mark the end of a 2,000-year-old Christian presence in the city. On Sunday early morning, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad boarded a plane and left Damascus for an unknown destination, two senior army officers told Reuters, as rebels said they had entered the capital with no sign of army deployments. Syria's army command also notified officers that President Bashar al-Assad's rule ended following a lightning rebel offensive. A Syrian officer who was informed of the move stated, according to Reuters, with Syrian rebels saying, "Damascus is now free of Assad." According to unverified information, the plane that might have been carrying Assad out of Damascus had gone into sharp descent and disappeared from the radars. There has been no official information, but a check showed that as at on Sunday early morning, a Syrian airplane took off from Damascus airport around the time the capital was reported to have been taken by rebels, according to data from the flight radar website. The aircraft initially flew towards Syria's coastal region, a stronghold of Assad's Alawite sect, but then made an abrupt U-turn and flew in the opposite direction for a few minutes before disappearing off the map. Details and verbatim of the press statement issued by the ousted Syria President Bashar al-Assad reads below in full. "First, my departure from Syria was neither planned nor did it occur during the final hours of the battles, as some have claimed. On the contrary, I remained in Damascus, carrying out my duties until the early hours of Sunday the 8th of December 2024. As terrorist forces infiltrated Damascus, I moved to Latakia in coordination with our Russian allies to oversee combat operations. Upon arrival at the Memim airbase that morning, it became clear that our forces had completely withdrawn from all battle lines and that the last army positions had fallen. As the field situation in the area continued to deteriorate, the Russian military base itself came under intensified attack by drone strikes. With no viable means of leaving the base, Moscow requested that the base's command arrange an immediate evacuation to Russia on the evening of Sunday the 8th of December. This took place a day after the fall of Damascus, following the collapse of the final military positions and the resulting paralysis of all remaining state institutions. At no point during these events did I consider stepping down or seeking refuge, nor was such a proposal made by any individual or party. The only course of action was to continue fighting against the terrorist onslaught. With the expansion of terrorism in Syria, and its arrival in the capital Damascus on the evening of Saturday, December 7, 2024, questions began to be raised about the fate and location of the president, amidst a torrent of confusion and stories far from the truth, which constituted support for the process of installing international terrorism concealed as a Syrian liberation revolution. At a critical historical moment in the life of our nation, when truth should have a place, there is something that needs to be clarified through a brief statement. These circumstances and the subsequent complete cessation of communication for security reasons did not allow for a statement to be made, and its brief points do not replace the narration of the details of everything that happened, which I will address at a later time, when the opportunity arises. First of all, I did not leave the country in a planned manner as was rumored, nor did I leave it during the last hours of the battles, but rather I remained in Damascus following up on my responsibilities until the early morning hours of Sunday, December 8, 2024. With the expansion of terrorism inside Damascus, I moved in coordination with my Russian friends to Latakia to follow up on the combat operations from there. Upon arriving at the main airbase in the morning, it became clear that the forces had withdrawn from all the battle lines and that the last army positions had fallen, with the deterioration of the field situation in that area increasing, and the attack on the Russian military base itself being escalated by drones. In light of the impossibility of leaving the base in any direction, Moscow asked the base leadership to work on securing immediate evacuation to Russia on the evening of Sunday, December 8th, the day after the fall of Damascus, and after the fall of the last military positions and the subsequent paralysis of the rest of the state institutions. During those events, the issue of asylum or resignation was not raised by me or by any person or party, and the only option presented was to continue fighting in defense of the terrorist attack. In this context, I emphasize that whoever, since the first day of the war, refused to trade his country's salvation for personal salvation, or to bargain with his people with various offers and temptations, is the same person who stood with the officers and soldiers of his army on the front lines, dozens of meters away from the terrorists in the hottest and most dangerous hotbeds of conflict, and is the same person who did not leave during the most difficult years of the war and remained with his family and people to face terrorism under bombardment and the danger of terrorists storming the capital more than once during 14 years of war. And whoever did not abandon the known Syrian resistance in Palestine and Lebanon, and did not betray his allies who stood with him, cannot be the same person who abandons his people to whom he belongs, or betrays them and his army. I have never been a person who seeks positions on a personal level, but rather I considered myself the owner of a national project that derived its support from a people who believed in it. I carried the certainty of the will of that people and their ability to preserve their state and defend its institutions and choices until the last moment. With the fall of the state into the hands of terrorism, and the loss of the ability to provide anything, the position becomes empty and meaningless, and there is no meaning to remaining responsible in it. This does not mean in any way abandoning the authentic national affiliation to Syria and its people, a fixed affiliation that is not changed by position or circumstance, affiliation filled with hope that Syria will return free and independent. Ambrose Owuru, Hope Democratic Party, HDP presidential candidate in the previous general elections in Nigeria, a legal practitioner who was in 2013 arrested and prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC over 66 million naira land scam, has been fined 5 million naira by the Nigeria Apex Court, the Supreme Court of Justice, for filing frivolous charges against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, seeking the West Africa country president's removal from office. EFCC had on July 31, 2013 arrested barrister Ambrose Owuru over an allegation of obtaining the sum of 66 million naira from one Ikechukwu Eze under false pretense. The complainant alleged that sometimes in March 2011, he paid the sum of 60 million naira through Sky Bank, Olu Obasanjo Road Branch, Port Harcourt, to Barrister Owuru for a property located at Anzamiro Street, Amadi Flat, Port Harcourt. In the process of taking possession of the property, it was discovered that a portion had been sold to another person. At this point, Barrister Owuru allegedly asked for another 6 million naira to settle the other buyer, one Chief Austin Omaya, which Eze allegedly obliged him. Since then, every attempt to take possession or develop the said property met with resistance. Upon receipt of the petition and commencement of investigation, the commission invited the suspect severally, but he refused to honor the invitations, which culminated in his arrest, EFCC stated in its press release issued first week of August 2013. Also in August 2013, EFCC issued another press release stating that a federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt has granted the former presidential candidate of the Hope Democratic Party, Chief Ambrose Owuru, bail in the sum of 10 million naira, and one surety who must be a lawyer of 30 years post-call experience. Justice Suleiman Aliyu also ordered that the surety must swear an affidavit of means while the accused undertake to be present in court throughout his trial. Owuru was arraigned on August 2, 2013 by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on a 5-count charge that borders on uttering, forgery and obtaining money by false pretense. He allegedly obtained the sum of 66 million naira from one Ikechukwu Eze through a phony land deal. One of the counts read, that you, Ambrose Owuru, on or about the 7th day of March 2011 at Port Harcourt, Rivers State, within the jurisdiction of this honorable court, with intent to defraud, did obtain the sum of 60 million naira from Ikechukwu Eze on the pretense that you have sold to him four plots of land situated at plot 44A, Amadi Layout, Port Harcourt, a pretext which you knew to be false, and thereby committed an offense contrary to Section 11A of the Advance Fee Fraud and Other Fraud-Related Offences Act, 2006, and punishable under Section 1(3) of the same Act. Another count reads, that you, Ambrose Owuru, on or about the 7th day of March 2011 at Port Harcourt, Rivers State, within the jurisdiction of this honorable court, did utter a forged certificate of occupancy, dated 20th of March 1990, purportedly issued by the Rivers State Lands and Survey, covering plot 44A Amadi Layout, Port Harcourt, and thereby committed an offense contrary to Section 1(2)(c) of the Miscellaneous Offences Act Cap M17 of the Revised Edition, Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and punishable under Section 1(2) of the same Act. He pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Justice Aliyu adjourned the case till October 10, 2013 for commencement of trial. The court also ordered that the accused person be remanded in the EFCC custody until he perfects his bail conditions. Justice B.O. Quadri of the Federal High Court, sitting in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, on November 11, 2015, overruled a preliminary objection filed by G.I. Abibu, San, in a case involving a former presidential candidate of the Hope Democratic Party, HDP, Chief Ambrose Owuru, who is being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for a phony land deal to the tune of 66 million naira. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has dismissed a lawsuit seeking President Bola Tinubu's removal, deeming it frivolous. The Apex Court imposed a fine of 5 million naira in the suit filed by Hope Democratic Party's presidential candidate Ambrose Owuru, over President Bola Tinubu alleged CIA and drug involvement. Owuru had petitioned the Supreme Court to remove President Bola Tinubu from office. Owuru alleged that Tinubu's alleged affiliation with the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, renders him unfit for the presidency. Additionally, he cited Tinubu's prior forfeiture of $460,000 to the U.S. government in a drug-related case as grounds for disqualification. He petitioned the Supreme Court to invoke Section 157 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, and consequently declare President Tinubu unfit to occupy the nation's highest office. Owuru based his prayers on the allegation that President Tinubu is beholden to foreign authorities, thereby compromising his ability to effectively discharge his duties. Furthermore, in suit number SC CV 667/2023, Owuru joined former President Muhammadu Buhari as a respondent, positing that the latter's tenure was unconstitutional. As the presidential candidate of the Hope Democratic Party, HDP, recently re-registered by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Owuru contended that he was the legitimate victor of the 2019 presidential election. Owuru alleged that Buhari usurped his mandate and illicitly governed the country for 8 years. He recounted that an earlier suit filed before the Supreme Court, seeking Buhari's removal, was inadvertently dismissed due to a scheduling mix-up. This technical oversight, Owuru argued, thwarted justice and perpetuated Buhari's purportedly illegal occupation of the presidency. He urged the apex court that after disqualifying President Tinubu, it should declare him president and order his immediate inauguration. This, he argued, would enable him to reclaim his purportedly usurped mandate. The respondents in the suit include President Tinubu, former President Muhammadu Buhari, the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Independent National Electoral Commission. Nigeria President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has called on all members of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to emulate the last Ghana presidential elections, with some Nigerians also calling on the president to ensure he allows the country electoral body, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to be free from being forced to corrupt the upcoming Nigeria 2027 presidential election. The ECOWAS bloc also gave its member countries, Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso, currently under military rule, a window of exit from the ECOWAS bloc in line with the request of the three countries which have been on a loggerhead with other member countries of the West Africa Community since coup after coup in the region. The approval came after some days President Bola Tinubu told German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier that ECOWAS would handle the three countries' return to the group with wisdom. The approval of the country's exit was made public on Sunday by ECOWAS Commission President Dr. Omar Al-Toure at the end of the 66th Ordinary Summit of the Authority of Heads of State and Government and ECOWAS Commission. Toure said the three countries will formally cease to be members of ECOWAS on January 29, 2025, in accordance with Article 91 of the revised ECOWAS Treaty. Following their notifications to withdraw, the regional bloc outlined a transitional period from January 29 to July 29, 2025, keeping its doors open for the countries to reconsider their decision. Acknowledging the diplomatic efforts led by Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, Togo's President, Foreign Assembly, and ECOWAS Chairman Bola Tinubu, the bloc emphasized its commitment to fostering dialogue. Toure said the authority had extended the mandates of Nassingbe and failed to continue mediation efforts throughout the transition period. He said ECOWAS, during the transitional phase, would focus on preparing for the separation. ECOWAS also tasked its Commission President with initiating withdrawal formalities after January 29, 2025, and developing a contingency plan to address political and economic relations with the departing nations. Additionally, the ECOWAS Council of Ministers would convene an extraordinary session in mid-2025 to finalize separation modalities and the contingency plan. Toure stated, the part of the communique I'll be reading relates to the decision of the Republic of Mali, the Republic of Niger and Burkina Faso, to withdraw from ECOWAS. After deliberations, Their Excellencies, members of the Authority of ECOWAS, heads of state and government, commend the exemplary diplomatic engagement of His Excellency, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, President of the Republic of Senegal, and His Excellency Foreign Assembly, President of the Togo's Republic, and the diplomatic efforts of the Chairman of Authority, His Excellency, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and other individual member states towards these three countries. The authority takes note of the notification by Burkina Faso, Republic of Mali and the Republic of Niger of their decision to withdraw from ECOWAS. The authority acknowledges that in accordance with the provisions of Article 91 of the revised ECOWAS Treaty, the three countries will officially cease to be members of ECOWAS from the 29th of January 2025. The authority decides to set the period from the 29th of January 2025 to the 29th of July 2025 as a transitional period and to keep ECOWAS doors open to the three countries during the transition period. In this regard, the authority extends the mandate of President Nasser of Togo and President Faye of Senegal to continue their mediation role up to the end of the transition period to bring the three member countries back to ECOWAS. Without prejudice for the spirit of the opening, the authority directs the President of the Commission to launch withdrawal formalities after the deadline of the 29th of January 2025. And to draw up a contingency plan covering various areas. The authority directs the Council of Ministers to convene an extraordinary session during the second quarter of 2025 to consider and adopt both separation modalities and the contingency plan covering political and economic relations between ECOWAS and the Republic of Niger, the Republic of Mali and Burkina Faso. In January, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger announced their decision to withdraw from ECOWAS. They accused the regional bloc of deviating from its foundational ideals and succumbing to external influences, particularly criticizing the imposition of sanctions aimed at reversing their respective coups. The decision followed a series of military takeovers, Mali in 2020 and 2021, Burkina Faso in 2022, and Niger in 2023, each leading to suspensions from ECOWAS and strained relations with the organization. At the meeting, President Bola Tinubu urged leaders in West Africa to draw inspiration from Ghana's recent peaceful elections as a model of democratic maturity and commitment to national unity. Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the Nigeria President on Information and Strategy in a news release on Sunday, said President Tinubu lauded President Nana Akufo-Addo and the people of Ghana for the resounding success of their recent presidential and parliamentary elections, setting a high standard for the region. I urge all of us in the region to learn from this good democratic practice and prioritize our country's national unity to ensure political stability of the region so that this manner of peaceful transition becomes the culture of democracy not only in West Africa but also in the entire Africa continent, he stated. Despite the challenges of interrupted democratic governance in some West African countries, the region has continued to record democratic gains. Just a week ago, on December 7, 2024, presidential and parliamentary elections took place in Ghana, the second largest democracy in our region. One of the leading candidates, who happens to be the incumbent vice president, His Excellency Mahamudu Bawumia, together with the leadership of the ruling party, New Patriotic Party (NPP), conceded defeat and accepted the outcome of the presidential election by congratulating the president-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama of National Democratic Congress (NDC) for his victory, even before the official announcement of the election results. This gesture, as it happened in Nigeria in 2015, demonstrates political maturity and respect for the will of the people of Ghana. President Tinubu praised President Akufo-Addo for his exceptional leadership and unwavering commitment to ECOWAS during his two-year term, describing him as a formidable Pan-Africanist. President Tinubu also congratulated the government and people of Senegal on their successful parliamentary elections. He praised Ghana's Foreign Minister, Shirley Ayoko Botchwey, for painstakingly leading the ECOWAS Ministerial Committee of the Reform. He wished her a successful tenure in her new role as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. In his second term as ECOWAS chair, President Tinubu highlighted achievements from his first term, including strides in regional integration, economic growth, conflict resolution, and counterterrorism efforts. He said the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ETLS, and Common External Tariff, CET, have strengthened trade and economic cooperation. Similarly, regional infrastructure projects such as the West African Gas Pipeline, the West Africa Power Pool, and modernizing key border posts with advanced equipment and joint border operations utilizing state-of-the-art technology have significantly enhanced connectivity and promoted greater regional integration. Furthermore, our efforts in stabilizing our region through peacekeeping missions currently in the Gambia and Guinea-Bissau, as well as previous operations in Liberia and Sierra Leone, have demonstrated our capacity to act decisively in the face of adversity. President Tinubu said the ECOWAS Regional Action Plan on the fight against terrorism has provided a comprehensive framework to combat violent extremism and enhance regional security. As ECOWAS nears its 50th anniversary in 2025, President Tinubu urged member states to recommit to the bloc's founding ideals of economic integration, peace, and prosperity. As a regional community, we must maintain our fundamental responsibility to protect our citizens and create an enabling environment where they can prosper. As leaders, we know that security is not a luxury but a necessity. Equally, enhancing the living standards of our people is not an aspiration but an obligation, he said. The presidents of Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, and Senegal attended in person alongside the Vice President of Sierra Leone, the Finance Minister of the Benin Republic, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Togo, and the Ambassador of Cape Verde to Nigeria. The President of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Toure, commended Nigeria for paying 100% of its community levy for 2023 and substantial remittances for 2024, reflecting Nigeria's leadership and commitment under President Tinubu. For the first time in 19 years, Nigeria has paid 100% of its community levy from 2023. I am therefore pleased to announce that on Friday, December 13, 2024, Nigeria paid 85 billion naira and $54 million, representing 100% of the 2023 levy and the 2024 levy up to July 2024. We all agree that this payment underscores the leadership and commitment of President Tinubu, the government and the people of Nigeria to our community. At a more personal level, it represents confidence in the management I have been privileged to lead since 2022. He encouraged other member states to meet their financial commitments diligently. The presidential news release ends in quote. Some Nigerians took to the Facebook page of Bayo Onanuga to express their feelings over the call made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that ECOWAS leaders should learn from Ghana's recent presidential election, and one of the responders, Omotosho Oluwabusi Oladotin Emmanuel, said, "They are Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu." With all due respect and in the spirit of patriotism, if Nigerians should learn from the last Ghana's presidential election and also emulate the Ghana's democratic practice following a successful presidential and parliamentary elections in the country, by her electoral commission just as you have rightly urged the ECOWAS leaders to follow suit, then you will definitely be massively rejected in the 2027 Nigeria's presidential election by the well-meaning Nigerian citizens, provided the INEC chairman would not use his good office to compromise or manipulate the election results of the concerned, dying, frustrated, impoverished, suffering, and suppressed Nigerian citizens. Honestly speaking, dear Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you have performed woefully as the Nigeria's president in the last 1.5 years in office after you have grabbed power with no clear direction, purpose, vision, and effective leadership of your renewed hope, with a view to delivering significant and tangible dividends of democracy for the masses. However, as far as I am concerned, the only thing that would make you win the 2027 Nigerian presidential election is for INEC Nigeria to rig the election in your favor again, against the respect for or wish of the good people of Nigeria. Bayo Onanuga also reported that, in his closing remarks, President Tinubu commended the ECOWAS heads of state and government for spirited discussions throughout the summit. He noted that the collective resolve underscored their strength to address the region's pressing challenges. As we move forward to implement the outcomes of this summit, let us remain united in our determination and steadfast in our commitment to the principles that bind us together as a community. I call on all member states to redouble their efforts in ensuring that the decisions reached here translate into tangible benefits for our citizens, he said. The Nigerian leader encouraged the leaders to carry forward the optimism and the resolve that guided the deliberations. Together, let us continue to champion the cause of a peaceful, secure, and prosperous West Africa, to build ECOWAS as a community of peoples anchored on the ideals of freedom, justice, democracy, and a vision of good governance that addresses the legitimate aspirations of our people, he said. President Tinubu congratulated the outgoing chairperson of the African Union Commission,
Moses Owuru, bringing you the news in a more digital way.